Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again. As I stated earlier, it has been a very long day. So we're just going to get to the point, get to the most important thing so we can go ahead and get moving. Again, thank you so much for being so patient and diligent by sticking around and to learn about this last important piece of the debt relief workshop, which is retirement planning. If you all don't know, of course, my name is Denise McCullough, okay, and I am a retirement consultant. And the name of my business is called Preparing for Leisure. That's what I help you do, prepare for leisure. That's the name of my company. And so, what I'm going to talk about is for retirement. Before we get into the retirement piece, um, some of the previous workshops I talked about what preparing a budget. Did you all do the budget? How many of you all actually did the budget? Okay. So if you haven't done the budget, I think I asked the reason why. I mean, was it because you just didn't take time to do it? Was it the electronic version? You prefer a paper version? What are some of the reasons why you didn't prepare the budget? I just would like to know. Uh-huh. Mhm. Okay. Okay. At least you know that. Okay. Well, you going to say something, Shirley? Okay. Anybody else had a comment, Miss Cheryl? Okay, so I just got to pin you down and make you do it. Okay, okay. And I'm saying it jokingly, but I am seriously willing to do that. Anybody that wants to do that, I even offered it to Reginald here. I can set up a one-on-one appointment with you to do this because this is something again that I'm passionate about, and I want you to do this to try to get your goals and stuff in place for 2026. Because we don't want to be at this point 1 year later and you still at that same point. So I'm willing to help you to move forward, but I need your participation too. I'm willing. I'm not charging you anything to do it because that's why I'm serious passionate about helping us. I really am. Because you got to want to change. You know, what good is, like I said, I'm sharing this knowledge. What good is you hearing it, but you're not applying it? That's not doing any good. So I want you to be able to apply the knowledge that you're hearing. Okay. So we're going to work on getting those budgets done. So making sure again you're getting your expenses together, knowing what your expenses are, because you truly, truly, truly need to know what your household expenses are and what's going out on a monthly basis in order to compare it to what's coming in. So again, after you do the budget, again, that's step one, making a budget first. And then, the second seminar I did is say, now that you've done your budget, now what do you need to do? You need to what? Review it and see where you need to make adjustments. And so that's what my purpose. And once you do your budget, I can help you make adjustments and tweaks for where you need to make changes at in order for you to be successful. But if you haven't made that step one, I can't help you. So that is step one. Even when I do my retirement consultation, creating that budget, knowing what your total household expenses is a must. Before I do anything with them, that is a must because I can't properly counsel you if I don't know what your total household expenses are. So that's very, very important. Okay. So again, you do your budget, then we review it, see where you can make adjustments, see where the extra money is. And then once you got that extra money, then that's when we're talking about when we talk about Dave Ramsey about saving that money. Try to at least get that $1,000. How many of you at least got like $1,000 saved for emergency? $1,000. Because you need at least have that. Goal is to have more, but at least you have that $1,000 saved in case some unforeseen things come up. You do have some money you can go to. Okay. And then after you get that adjustment, make those adjustments to your budget, then I wasn't here, I was sick on the third one. We talked about investing because you got to learn how to invest that extra money. Don't leave it in a savings account. I think Ron mentioned about different types of savings. Rather than having it in a regular savings account, you need to have it invested in a high yield savings account, because the high yield savings account are paying anywhere from 3, 4, sometimes 5%, depending on your account. But if you leave your money sit in a regular savings account, it's only paying you 0.01%. So if you have money in a regular savings account, banks are loving you because they turn around lending out your money and making money on it. So, but you need to have it in a high yield savings account, invested in CDs or other investment accounts. I think he mentioned maybe some different ones like Moomoo is one of the apps you can use for investments. SoFi is another one that you can do investing in. But if you haven't done that budget, making an adjustment, how can you can see any money to be able to invest it? Hmm. Hmm. No, no. A high yield is just like a regular savings account. You just making more money on it rather than let it sit. Like I said, I have my high yield savings account. I can go in at any time, pull my money out. Just no penalty. No, there's no penalty or anything with a high yield savings account. Yes, yes. Hmm. You're not losing any money on it at all. But you saying you looking at 3 point or more, like three. The norm right now, I think it's about 3.4% on a high yield versus point oh 0.01. So you look at that and compare that. The bank, you paying the bank, you got your money sitting in that, and they paying you. Yeah, let your money sit in. They ain't gonna encourage you to put it in a high yield because what? They're not paying you any money on it. They paying you 0.01% on a regular savings account. Where if you had it in that high yield savings, because it's still a regular savings account, they're just paying you more money. A lot of them will have a minimum balance. Probably have to look at when at your particular bank, is there a minimum balance that you have to maintain in that particular account in order to earn that interest? Some it could be 500, it could be 1,000. So it just depends. So that's what you got to ask your bank about and see what their minimum requirement is. So either with that, you can do money market accounts as well, but you definitely still not let should not let your money sit in a regular savings account because you're not making any money on it. Okay. So once you've done the investing, you've done your budget, and then the last step is like when you get closer to retirement. Up here, this question here: are you ready? You got to ask yourself: are you ready to retire? How many of you all are planning to retire? Are you within 5 or 10 years of retirement? Anybody in here within 5 or 10 years of retirement? Okay, so you good. Anybody? And who else is retired? Who else is retired? Retired. Okay, so y'all, all y'all retired. So you don't two in the back. Okay. But even when you retire, and when you're thinking about even when you retire, you still need to make adjustments. You still need to make adjustments. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. And medical by itself will break you. Medical alone. And so those are the things you have to plan for as well when you're thinking about retirement, because and you can see with all the changes with the laws, with what's going on while we was in a shutdown with the federal government because they was fighting over the Obamacare, because they were saying in the new plan or whatever, the rates are going to go up 2 or 3 times what you were paying for a family coverage, because they were saying if you've been paying like $500, it was going to about $2,500 a month now. So that's what's about. So y'all about to see some drastic changes in 2026. So that's why it's going to be very important to take control of your finances and not depend on the federal government to do it for you. Yes, you got to do that. And that's why the budget, I mean, you got to seriously look at your budget and ask yourself on all of your expenses or where your money is going, is this a want or is this a need? And you need to make sure you take care of your needs first. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Hmm. Yes. Yes. Each one. Okay. All right. Okay. She was just saying a lot of the data companies that are out there, and data centers that you're charging to use your electricity is a lot more. And then rather than they're charging, they're passing that expense on to you as a consumer. And as we can see, a lot of the Georgia Public Service Commissioner, with these midterm election, Georgia Public Service Commissioner was on there because one is still talking about raising the rates, and one is trying to help lower the rates. So these elections, you got to pay a close attention to a lot of these things because these are the things that are going to impact you directly. So that's why you got to look at your expenses very, very closely now because you're going to see 2026. You think things are tight. Oh, they really about to get tight in 2026. So you got to look at it very closely. A lot of things. If you see property, you own a house, you saw your property taxes skyrocket. So everything is going up but the pay. So we have to look at that. Okay. So now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Of course, I'm a retired federal employee myself. I worked in the federal government over 28 years, and I actually retired this year in May unexpectedly. It wasn't planned. It was forced to all the situation and everything that was going on in the federal government. But luckily, by me taking the tools that I'm telling you all, I've been planning for retirement 5 years ago. I already had been planning. So when this opportunity came and presented itself, and I was basically forced out, I was okay because I already had been planning for this. So I was in position. So I tell my sons all the time, I say, "Our opportunity is never missed. It is passed on to the next prepared person." So I had been planning for this for 5 years already. So when that opportunity presented itself, I was able to jump on it because I had only planned to work 2 more years anyway. But God works in mysterious ways, right? So He just moved that window up a little bit faster for me because He knew I was tired and stressed out on my job. So, but again, of course, I've been doing that, and I've been had my business around since 2018. I just been had it in place and in position. I really hadn't been working in because I had planned to do it once I retired because my job was so stressed. I didn't really have time to really work it. But again, being prepared, have everything in position and in place. And so as soon as immediately once I retired, all of some of my former employees started calling me. So I started doing retirement consulting with them right away because, again, with the situation, what's going on with a lot of federal employees, they don't have specialists where they're able to get one-on-one counseling. They haven't been able to get that, so they've been going in blindly making decisions about their retirement benefits without being able to speak with a counselor. So I've been able to fill that void. Okay. Okay. So I've been able to fill that void by being able to counsel them. So that's why I have been doing my business or doing that. So, but of course, they didn't let me stay retired long. So I retired in May and went back to work in July. Went back in July as a contractor, though. As a contractor, not as a regular federal employee anymore, but as a contractor. So I'm on a contract and I'm trying to stick it out until March of next year, and then I'll go back to being retired again. But they are trying to get me to work another contract, but I may not do. I say if I do another one, it's just going to be part time. I'm not trying to do any more full time jobs with anybody. So I just want to work my business of doing that, so I can do it when I want to, when I feel like again control, me controlling the situation. So that's what I want to do. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, I put the price to them when I went back this time. I did that. Oh yeah, cause y'all asked me to come back. I was fine at home. I was fine, minding my own business. I was good. So you wanted me to come back? Oh yeah, I put the price up there, and they paid me. So, cause I knew what my skill set was, and I know I'm good at what I do, and I ain't got no problem telling anybody because I invested a lot of years in what I do, and I'm very passionate about what I do. So I got a lot. professional certifications that some people, and I'm the only one in the whole federal agency got this certification. So yes, y'all gonna pay me for that. So that's what I do. So again, I've been doing that. Again, I'm gonna have my professional certification as an employee benefits advisor. So that's what I do. And I have two sons. Again, some of you have seen one. My youngest son, Andre, he comes with me a lot. And then I have an older son named Antavius. So, and both of them are my joy. And of course, I'm a widow. My husband died in 22. So, but I'm doing good. Praise God. On up. But again, that's another thing that one plan, one expecting, but had things in place. So when he passed on, I was still able to keep it moving. So that's what all about preparing, doing these different things and being in position and in place. So again, because things gonna happen, unplanned, things uncertain, those unforeseen things. But if you go ahead and prepare ahead of time, then you can be prepared when those different situations arise. Okay. All right. So that's enough for me. So now I want to give you some 10 tips for retirement. Okay, so some of the ones I'm going to go over again is about income replacement. Because a lot of times while we're working, a lot of times some people, if you don't really know, you think you're going to be making the same money in retirement when you retire, and that is not true. Those who are retired already know that you're not going to make that same amount of money while you're working. Okay, so you got to thinking about different income replacement options. Okay, we're going to talk about those who still working. Do you know about your eligibility requirements, and to be able to retire? Some of your benefits that you're going to be able to continue once you retire. Do you know how to even calculate your annuity with your job? Then we're going to talk about 401k and Roth contributions, Social Security benefits, um, retirement estimates, some of the things you need to be doing prior to retirement, how to eliminate debt. Talking about that's going to be another point that most is very, very important. Eliminating the debt before you retire. That's crucial. Okay, and then preparing for leisure. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Oh, I should put. I'm looking at my computer rather than on here. Those are the 10 tips I just went over. Sorry about that, y'all. But those are the 10 tips again that we're going to go over. And then I'm going to go over each one of them individually. Okay. So again, that was income replacement, eligibility requirements, benefits after retirement, annuity computations, 401k Roth contributions, Social Security benefits, retirement estimates prior to retirement, eliminate debt, and preparing for leisure. Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is income replacement. When you're getting ready to retire, you're looking at having to replace 70 to 80% of your income. Think about it, you're living off 100% of your income, and when you retire, your income drops instantly, and you're looking at replacing 70 to 80% of your income. Then you got to ask yourself, okay, so where is that 70 to 80% is going to come from? And that's here is an idea pension, and that usually replace about 20 to 30% of that. But if you look in today's time, a lot of jobs don't have pensions anymore. There are no more guaranteed in pension stuff. That goes away. So that take away 20, 30%. So now you got to look at what? Social Security. Social Security replace approximately 40% of your income. And I tell my retirees don't even depend on that because that's probably going to go away. Eliminate, so if a pension is gone, Social Security is gone, then what you got left? Let's see. So now you got your own personal savings and investment, 401k plans. So you can see those two are dependent on who? You. You doing the work. So this is where you're taking in control of your finances. Again, if you don't have the pension, you don't have the Social Security, the only thing you have left is your only personal savings and investments and 401k. And look what I said. That's only what? Approximately 30%. But I said you got to replace what? 70 to 80. So that's where you got to be putting more money into savings and more money in your 401k and Roth contributions. That's where you got to put that money in if those two items go away. So that's what a lot of business, if you go on a lot of businesses today, a lot of jobs, like I said, they don't have pensions and they have 401ks, but it's optional participation. It's not mandatory, it's option. No, they're not going to make it mandatory. Why? Because what? They save money when you don't invest. So if you don't put no money in, they ain't got to put no money in. So they love it when you don't invest. They save money. So now what they doing, they making you take control over your finances and your retirement. So if you don't do your due diligence, if you don't have anything, you can't what? Blame anybody but yourself. Okay? Now, with eligibility requirements, so those of you who haven't retired yet, do you know what the eligibility requirements are for your job? Two ladies in the back who's still working. So, do you know what the eligibility requirements are on your job for retirement? Such as your age, what age you have to be, and how many years of service you have to have. That's a major question. That's helpful planning purposes. You need to know what is your age and service requirement is for your job. Yeah, yeah. Ask about it. Believe me, if you don't ask, they ain't gonna tell you. So you have to ask about that. So that's gonna help you with your planning. That help with your plan. So always seriously ask them what is the minimum age and how many years of service you have to be eligible for at least a minimum retirement. Okay, so ask that's an important question. Okay, and then ask about disability because some things could happen. You could be disabled on your job. Something could happen. You get in an accident or anything. What are the disability requirements for retirement? Ask about that as well. Okay. And then ask even if they offer early retirement. Just like Ms. Cheryl mentioned, she had to go out unexpectedly early. And if they do have an early out retirement, is there a penalty for it? That's important because if I even talk about my mom, before I really got into doing retirements and stuff, and that she had to go early, they didn't give her any counseling. They just sent her a stack of papers. And so she made some bad financial decisions because she did not know. They didn't counsel her one on one. She should have been going out on disability rather than retirement because she was the one she had the years, but she didn't have the age. So she took a penalty for the age. So she ended up taking a 40% permanent reduction in her annuity because she didn't know. She did not know. So that's another reason why I'm passionate about this because I think about what happened to my mom. Because nobody didn't care. They sent her a stack of papers. I wasn't doing this, what it is. She didn't know what she was doing. But they should have been advising her to do disability rather than doing that early out and took a penalty. Because she had over 30 years, but she didn't have age. So that was a 40% permanent reduction she took in her retirement annuity. Thank you. Yeah, they don't do that. But see, again, I live by the golden rule. You treat people how you want to be treated. And even when I'm doing my retirees right now on the job, if I see, because I've been doing this several years, if I see they're making a bad financial decision, I will call them up. I will call them up and say, hey, this is what you have on your paper. I want to say, are you sure you want to do this? I'll process whatever you want, but this is the impact of you making this decision. So I just want to make sure you clear on this because again, with all the situation was going on, they wasn't able to get the counseling. So they had a stack of papers and we just told them complete it. So they making some decisions on some on the life, and then one is usually most long is the life insurance. A lot of them will say, yeah, I want to keep everything that I have. And if you keep everything the way it is, and when they go into retirement, it can be very, very expensive. Because remember, your annuity ain't gonna be the same when you retire versus when you're working. And so some of them, I would tell them, I was seeing with some of their life insurance coverage gonna be costing them $500, over $500 a month. Again, their annuity dropped down like 30%. They're not making, and so that was gonna take a big chunk of their annuity. And I was like, Are you sure you want to do that? Once I explain the different options with them, they always change. No, 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 that's not what I want to do. And so I do that to make them to change because again I've been doing it for several years, and certain things are just triggers that just jump out. And I know the only reason why they will keep that high option if they're terminally ill and they can't get any other life insurance anywhere else because of their health conditions, then I understand. Okay, yes, that makes sense. But if you fairly healthy, and a lot of time they already have health insurance at home, you don't need all of that. That's too much money. You just throwing away. So I advise them and counsel them they use to change the options, but that's what I do. But you need to know what those requirements are to help with planning. Okay. Next thing, this is another biggie. What are your benefits that you can continue in retirement? What are your benefits? Do the health insurance, because right now, what you get that group insurance rate while you're working. When you retire on some job, that job employer don't play anymore. You pay the full percentage. And you need to know that because, again, that affects your budget and your income that you're bringing home. So you need to know even can you continue. So if you're not going to be able to continue that health insurance in retirement, then what? You got to be looking at what? Getting your own. Again, you ask these questions for planning purposes, okay? So ask about the health insurance because, like I said, health insurance alone will break you. So that is a very important question. Next one, you're going to ask, can you continue your dental and vision into retirement? Okay. And again, if you can, are you going to still receive the group rate, the employer contribution towards your health insurance plan? Okay. Then you want to look at life insurance. A lot of jobs don't even allow you to continue life insurance into retirement. So these are questions you need to ask about your benefits. And then the last one, long-term care. That's a biggie, which is very, very expensive now. So that if you're offering your job, the younger you get in it, the cheaper it's going to be. But as the older you get, the more expensive that is. But long-term care, but a lot of people, I used to tell when I used to do these presentations, a lot of people, when they hear long-term care, oh, I don't need that. That's just for old elderly people. No, it's not. Because anything can happen. And you can be in a situation where you need long-term care. Like with my husband, he was young when that happened when my husband had a massive heart attack. Massive heart attack. And he went from walking in the hospital to coming out told him being congestive heart failure, went from one extreme to the next, and went to having to have a heart transplant overnight. 2015, walked in, came out needing a heart transplant. That's how I think that was not in our plan. I didn't have long term care for him. So now, again, we're trying to figure out now when he got home, he's gonna have to have somebody what to assist him. He got bandages. He got there. He had end up getting what we call a LVAD. You probably know what an LVAD is, okay? But it's that it was a temporary heart pump because he needed a heart, okay? So it was a left ventricular assist device. That's what it was, and was replacing his heart. So he had to have him on it. That was 24/7. He had a drain coming out of his stomach, and that was tube going up to his heart, and that's what was keeping him alive. So you had to keep it clean and everything. So anybody had to be thorough and all of that. Somebody got to work. Somebody got to work. Somebody got to have work to have the health insurance because that was very expensive because that one particular that pump was costing my insurance $17,500 per month. Per month. That's just a device. We ain't talking about all the meds he had to be on, all the other supplies and all of that. That's why I said medical will break you by itself. But thank God I had good insurance on my job that covered that. Because what? That was unplanned, unexpected. So we have to prepare for those things and ask these questions. That's very, very important. Okay. Annuity computation. Next question I'm asking you again, which is very important. You need to know what the formula is on your job, how they calculate your annuity. So if like Cheryl probably know as a federal employee, you was only getting 1% for every credible year of service you worked. 1% if you was under the new retirement system that we have now. 1%. So if you work 30 years, the max you're gonna get is 30% of your income. And let's say, for example, if your high three was like $100,000 and you get 1% for every year, so that's 30 years. So the max, your lifestyle was what? $100,000, right? Now you're going from $100,000 down to $30,000 a year. 100,000 now 30,000. That's a drastic drop. So that's why we're talking about that income replacement. You got to know what it is. Because a lot of times we ain't planning for that. We ain't planning for that big drop. But those are what you got to start looking at and start making those adjustments as you get closer to retirement. That's very, very important. But you need to know, how do they calculate your annuity? Because a lot of people don't know. They make that mistake, think they're going to make the same money when they retire. And then when they go and get ready to retire and they run them numbers like, what? What? I can't live on this. So you don't want to have that shock factor. You want to get them to do an estimate. You're going to have it talking about, ask for those estimates early in so you can plan accordingly and make adjustments before that time. Okay? All right. So then here, then if you're married, then you got to see if you're going to leave a survivor benefit for a spouse. Because a lot of time on a lot of the jobs, if you don't leave a survivor benefits, and then if you have health insurance, then a spouse won't be able to continue the health insurance if you don't leave them a survivor benefits. So you got to look at, and if you leave a survivor benefits, again, that's another cost. That's going to cost you money as well. So these are the type of questions you need to be asking on your job. Okay. Then again, your health and life insurance costs. Because again, when you get ready to retire, again, a lot of the group rates go away, and you pay 100% of that cost. The employer share, the employee share, and then usually you pay a 2% administrative cost on top of that. So you need to, these are the type of questions you need to be asking, because you don't want these shock questions at the end. So you need to be asking how they calculate that. Okay. And again, will those contributions continue in retirement? Then the last one is taxes. That's another one we don't prepare for. Is taxes in retirement. Okay. Look at that. Next one, the 401k on your jobs. You're working. Okay. If you have a 401k user, that's the standard, or 403b, mostly for teachers. Okay. If you have that. Okay. With the 401k, then you got to know the difference between, are you going to do what we call the 401k? They have traditional, and then they normally have the Roth. Okay. And with the traditional, okay, that is what we call pre-tax money. Okay. Usually they will take your contributions from the 401k, that'll take that out of your paycheck. Then they tax the remainder. Okay. So you haven't paid any taxes on that money. That's why we call it pre-tax or tax deferred. So you don't pay the taxes on it now, but when you get ready to take the money out later, that's when you pay the taxes. Okay. So that's the traditional account. Okay. Then the other one we have is what we call the Roth account, which is after tax money. Okay. So you already done paid the taxes up front. Okay. And so when you get ready to take the money out later, you don't pay taxes on that money again, because you went ahead and paid it up front. Okay. So you just have to look at your situation, see which one is more advantageous for you to do it. I did traditional for years when it was younger, to take advantage of where I had the kids in school or whatever, so I can increase my take home pay. So I did that for several years. But as I got older and the kids got older, then I switched over to a Roth, and then I started splitting it in half. And a good thing you got to keep in mind with a Roth, you need to open it up because you got to have it 5 years before you can take any money out of it. And it's for retirement. For retirement, not your savings account. It is for retirement. So if you take it out before 59 and a half, you're going to get hit with that penalty. So it is for retirement, but you have to have that account open and invest in it for 5 years before you can start taking money out. So when I did my Roth on my job, I just put little money just to open an account to start that clock for 5 years. Start putting some money. You don't have to be a whole lot, just put something in there. But again, you have to look at your situation. Do you want to pay the taxes now, or you pay the taxes later? But again, a lot of people go ahead and switch in and do the Roth. to pay the taxes now, because with the tax rates going up, a lot of time taxes are higher in retirement. So you don't want to have to pay taxes on that money later on. So it just depends on your situation, or do a combination of both. And you can see here, you want to try to contribute, look at your budget, and try to contribute early. Know what the matching is. Do you know what the matching is on your job? What is the matching? How much? 2%? 3%? Okay. All right, so it's dollar for dollar for the first 3% that you put in. Okay. So are you doing at least the 3%? Okay, good. Perfect. Perfect. What about you on your job? Okay. You need to ask about that. So are you doing that? That's great. You're doing that. You want to say something? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. You still put it in there. Because again, now you still, it's you planning for you. He was just saying, if there is no matching on your job, should you still contribute? And the answer is yes. Well, it don't necessarily have to be supervisor. No. Okay. On the supervisor. But a lot of them now, most jobs now, they will go ahead and match. Most of the job at least do 5 or 6%. That is the standard norm for most jobs. They would do it like dollar for dollar for the first 3% you put in, and then maybe 50 cents on the dollar for the next 2% that you put in. Yes, because again, they, even if they don't offer any matching, yes, still go ahead and participate, because again, you are planning for your retirement. You're being able to say, regardless if they're matching or not, you still want to participate and set that money aside. And you can see here, I said with the limits, I went ahead and gave you the limits for 2024. And what I used to tell my employees, the easiest way to increase your contributions to the 401k, most of the time, like with federal employees, you used to always get a raise in January. So think about when you're supposed to get your raises. You already got your lifestyle based on your current income now. So whatever your raise is going to be, you can bump it up 1 or 2% based on that raise, because you already been adjusted on a certain lifestyle already on a certain amount of money. But that was the easiest way to increase your income, your investment into your 401k every year based on when you got those raises. That was the easiest way. Okay. Now you can, uh-huh. Yes. So the question is, if she start the Roth account, go ahead and just start and put a little bit of money in to go ahead and start the clock. Because again, you have to have it for 5 years before you can take the money out. Okay. So you start the clock, start putting a little bit of money in, and then later on 5 years, and you met that 59 and a half, then yes, you can still pull everything out. But you got to start the clock early to count the 5 years. That's important. Okay. But you can see the IRS contribution limit for 2026 is 24,500 that you can put in. Okay. Again, ask about the matching benefits on your job. And then if you're age 50 and older, you can put in an extra $8,000 a year. So with both of those combined together, you can put in a max of $32,500 per year, okay, into your 401k. And then if you age 60, or it should be 60 to 63, that's a typo, I fixed that. It should have been 60 to 63. Then you can put in an extra $11,250 a year for a total of $35,750 per year. Okay. And then the Roth IRA, that's another option. Say maybe you've already maxed out doing the max on your job with the regular 401k contributions, and you have extra money, then you can do a Roth IRA. That is one that's outside of your job. It's another Roth IRA, and you can put in, and that's again after tax money. And again, you can contribute up an extra now for 27,500. But then if you're 50 and older, you can put in a max of $8,600 a year. So by me being retired, and long as I'm still working, and my financial advisor told me, as long as I make $8,600 a year, I can put in that max of 8,600 for my Roth. So I'm still throwing money, and even though I'm retired, I'm still investing money, putting them in Roths. I'm still doing that every year. As long as I'm working, as long as you have earned income, you can put money in that Roth IRA, even though you're retired. Okay. Then you want to think that's very important. You want to ask, what are the vesting requirements? Do you know what the vesting requirements are for your 401k on your job? Ask, that's important. You need to know. So are you 100% invested for all the money? Uh-oh. Yeah, it's still up there. Yeah, vesting requirement. So are you automatically invested for all your money that you put into it? One for all your money. So a lot of time, like a lot of them saying like here's like 3 years or more, meaning you got to be on that job 3 years. Say if you on the job 1 year, 2 year you put in, but you are always 100% vested in the money you put in, but you may not be 100% vested in what the employer puts in. So you need to know what that requirement is. So if you've been there 1, 2 years and then you walk away, do you want to know, can you still take that matching that the employer put in? Can you take that with you? Or is there a requirement 3 years, 10 years, 5 years, what that vesting requirement is? So ask that question. Okay. Then you want to know, say, what's going to happen with your money once you separate? Can your money sit there? Or do you have to immediately take it out and roll it over somewhere? And remember, if it's a traditional account and if you have to take the money out immediately, okay, if they send the check to you, depending on your age, if you're under 59 and a half, you're going to be instantly hit with a 20% tax penalty right off the top if it's traditional money. 20%. And then when you get ready to file your taxes, you're going to pay another 10% for an early withdrawal penalty. So these are the questions you need to be asking. So if you got another account, if you don't, when you left, they'll ask the question, what happens, or can your money sit there? Do you not have to take it out? Okay. Or if you need to put it with another account, find another account, open up an account with somebody else and have that money roll over so you won't have to pay taxes on it if you're not ready to take it out. So you want to create another account and let them roll that money over to that other account so you won't have to pay that 20% tax penalty. Okay? So again, asking these questions. And a lot of mistakes I hear see a lot of people do is they use that 401k as a revolving savings account, taking in and out, in and out, in and out. But it's not for that purpose. It's for retirement. So they're constantly taking money out, buying savings, doing this for the house, putting down payments, buying cars, doing paying college education, doing everything. Then when they get ready to retire, they don't have no money. I see that too. I see it all the time. So that's why I'm bringing these things to your attention and questions you need to ask, okay? Social Security. How many of you all have created an account on SSA.gov? Okay. You create, so have you downloaded your benefit statement? Have you downloaded your benefit statement? Because you need to look at it and review that Social Security benefit statement to make sure that your earnings that are being reported are reported correctly, because they do make mistakes. So you need to review that and look at all this year, because they're going to look at your earnings for your entire work history. You're going to have every year that you have worked, you're going to have your earnings listed by the year. So you need to download that statement and it'll tell you what your benefit if you draw it at 62, if you draw it at your full retirement age, and most of the time now it's about 66, depending on when you were born. And I'll show the chart on that, or if you wait to age 70. So you want to look at that, because again, the purpose of you doing that helps for planning purposes, because then you got to ask yourself, am I going to apply for Social Security at 62? Or can I wait to the full retirement age? But that's going to depend on your income and your budget, whether or not you're going to apply at 62 or not. So you need that for that purposes, helping for planning purposes, okay? And you can see here, if you say you go ahead and draw that benefit before you turn 62, and then a lot of people will still go ahead and work a job. You're not at your full retirement age, and you go and get another job. Now you have to be mindful of the Social Security IRS earnings limit. Okay, so if you work that other part-time job or another job, the limit for 2026 is $24,480. Now, if you make more than $24,480 a year, then your Social Security benefit will be reduced $1 for every $2 that you earn over this limit of $24,480. That's why you have to be aware. That's why I have it up here. You have to be aware of what that Social Security earnings limit is if you draw your Social Security benefit before you reach your full retirement age. Because these are a lot of things we don't know and we overlook this and then we get caught up. So that's why I'm bringing these things to your attention that you need to be mindful of. Okay? She asked the question, what input do I have on whether or not a person should retire at age 62 or what the full retirement age, right? First question, depends on your budget. That's what it depends on. Because again, that's why I tell you, all my retirees, I make them. This is a requirement. I don't talk to you at all until you do their household expenses. Like I said, mm-hmm. Okay. So that's here. So it just depends. So right here depends on when you put. Like I said, if you're looking at drawing it, like this is a prime example. What I have up here. Say you go ahead and decide to draw it at 62, and you can see if you draw it at 62, you're looking at facing what, a 30% penalty. Well, 25%, 25% penalty if you draw it at 62. So it depends on when you were born. If you were born between 1943 to 1954, and you start drawing your Social Security benefit at 62. For example, if you get like $1,000 in Social Security, you draw it at 62. Now, rather than getting $1,000, you're gonna get $750 because now you're getting hit with a 25% penalty for drawing it at 62. If you were born between 1943 to 1954, okay. So if you here, if you have different ones. If you're born at 55, it's 25.83, 56, 26.67. So you can see the later you get when you're born, it goes up higher. So if you were born 1960 and later, the penalty is 30%. So it's ranging from 25 to 30% if you draw it at 62. At 53, it's 25% if you draw it at 62. So that is the major thing you got to look at. Again, a lot of people go ahead and draw it at 62 because they need the money. They need the money. They need that, what I'm talking about, that income replacement. But if you don't really need it, then yeah, you can sit. And the more years you sit, it goes up. That reduction goes down 8% for every year that you wait to draw it. For every year that you wait, that reduction goes down 8% until you hit that full retirement age. Now, once you hit that full retirement age, you can take it out and then you can make as much money as you want. Then you won't be subject to that income earnings limit once you have reached that full retirement age. Once you have reached that, now most of the time the full retirement age is 66. That is the going rate now. So once you hit that, then you won't be subject to that Social Security earnings limit. But if you under it and you draw your benefit at age 62, then now you're subject to that Social Security earnings limit. That's why most of the people, you see a lot of elderly people working. That's why they only do it part time, so they don't go over that earnings limit. And a lot of time they saying working to Walmart, greeters. A lot of time it ain't by choice. They have to, because they need what, income replacement. So they have to do that. Okay. Then again, as I was saying about your estimates, you want to make sure you request from your job a retirement estimate at least 5 years prior to the date you want to retire. Your eligibility requirement, like I said, but you can't have a data plan if you don't know what the eligibility requirements are. So, but you want to ask it at least 5 years. So you won't have that shock factor of what you think your income is going to be when you go ahead and ask it at least 5 years ahead of time, so you already know what the numbers are. So if the numbers not looking how you want them to look, you can go ahead and start making adjustments now, making changes. Okay. So you're going to ask that 5 years, get a printed hard copy so you can look at it and discuss it 5 years prior to your date. And then that is your time you want to review it, ask questions, and like I said, make adjustments if needed. Okay. And consult if you have a financial advisor, consult with your financial advisor because a lot of times they're going to ask you what is the estimate is on your job. Have you received an estimate? Okay. And then if your job offer any time retirement seminars on your job, please, please take advantage of those retirement seminars offered at your job because everything that I mentioned about what you can continue in retirement, what those costs gonna be, those vesting requirements, they go over all day in those retirement seminars. So make sure if your job offer those, please take advantage of them. Okay. Okay, so prior to retirement, what do you need to be doing? So prior to retirement, you need to what? Most importantly, start to adjust your spending habits and your household budget to live on one, hear me, one of your biweekly paychecks 2 to 3 years prior to your retirement date. So you need to start going ahead and get your mindset now and start living on one check. Because the reason why I'm telling you that, because that's basically what your annuity gonna be. One of your biweekly checks. So if your household expenses are in line with one of your biweekly checks, then you're okay. So that is the purpose of asking for that estimate and start so you can start planning ahead of time. Okay. The whole old goal used to say 3 to 6 months of your net income. It ain't 3 to 6 months anymore. It's 6 to 8. Because now, in this day and time, now you're looking at how long it's going to take before you get that first check. A lot of people take one check and then they out the door. Because I know with me, when I retired, it took over 4 months before I got a check. So, but if I didn't have earnings saved, have money saved to cover my household expense, because the job, they ain't caring. And especially with situations going on, people getting fired up. You think they caring about you not getting no check? They working trying to have time how to work for free. So that's why you have to prepare in case for unforeseen situation that may arise. So in case that happens, you still got money to keep you afloat. So like I said, the norm used to be 3 to 6, but now it's best to go ahead and plan for 6 to 8. Okay. And then, like I said, while you're working, your lifestyle is based on 100% of your income. But again, when you retire, it drops down immediately to 25 to 30%. And like I said, that's a big jump. Because again, you're having to replace 70 to 75% of your income. So you have to consider those things. Again, where that 70 to 75% going to come from, what I talked about. Any savings, any investments, your 401k, pension. But again, a lot of jobs don't have pension. Then if Social Security is not around, the only thing you're going to have left is your personal savings and investments in your 401k for that 70%. Okay? So if you're not even participating in that, you're not even going to have that. You're going to really be in a tight financial situation. So your main thing, what you need to focus on is getting out of debt. That is a must. That's not an if, that is a must when you retire. Because your 3 largest expenses, you can see if I listen here, are your mortgage, your car note, and your credit card. Those are your 3 largest expenses. You cannot retire and still have all 3 of these debts. You are not going to make it. Because again, your lifestyle is based on 100%. And now you're going from 100% to 30, and you still got a mortgage, car note, credit. You're not going to make it. So your goal is to eliminate 2 out of the 3. Most of the time, people usually have a mortgage. They can eliminate the car note. They can eliminate the credit card debt. They usually have that mortgage payment left over. Okay? So focus on at least eliminating 2 out of the 3. Okay? So now I want to show you an example of what it looks like when I was talking about getting out of debt. So here you can see on the left-hand side, what your annuity look like if you are still in debt and you have those three. Say if you gross monthly annuity, say your annuity check pension gonna be $2,750 minus your mortgage payment. I try to just put a little number in there, 1,200. Some people it's more than 1,200. I think that's a low number, but $1,200 for a mortgage payment minus a car note, 500. Some people $600-700 for car notes now this day and time. Then minus credit card debt, $300. Health insurance, that's cheap, is way more than $200. But I was just putting a number in here. Life insurance 25, dental and vision 15, taxes 125. So if you take all that out, your net annuity is $385. Look, and like I said in red, they don't even include household expenses, food, utilities, none of that is included. You guys still got to pay for that too. Now, if you see on the right, if you without debt, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a car note, and you don't have a credit card debt. Same thing, gross 2,750. Still the main one you're never gonna have with the health insurance, life, dental, and taxes. You can see that net of doing that is 2,385. So they look a whole lot better than 385 on the left, right? You see why it's so important. You got to eliminate those three major debts because that's where all your money goes. You're not going to make it if you still have all three of those major debts when you get ready to retire and your income is not there. And that's why I keep that chart so you can see the difference with it versus without it. Okay? So, preparing for leisure, what are you going to do? One, you got to plan. First, you need to educate yourself about retirement. Like I said, asking those questions. What are the eligibility requirements? What are the vesting requirements? What's going to continue into retirement? What are the costs that are going to continue in retirement? Educate yourself about your retirement. Okay? Then you got to prepare by saving, investing, and getting out of debt. That's a no if, ands, and must about that one. Getting out of debt. That is crucial. Then next you got to do is execute what you have learned. So you can retire when you can replace your income. When you know what those income replacements are. How you're going to replace your income. Again, whether it's 401k, whether it's your savings, whether your investment, whether it's Social Security. Once you know those pieces, then you know you're ready to retire. Like I said, your goal is to make sure your household expenses are within line with one of your biweekly net check. Get your household expenses in line with one. If you think about it today, you look at what your income now, cut that in half, and compare it to what your current household expenses are. Those should be shock factors to you now. Okay? So you see it right here. The choice is yours. You can relax during retirement, or you can be the person on the right. Are you going to worry in retirement? Because a lot of times you're on that because when you worry, you haven't done all those things to plan and educate yourself ahead of time. Okay? All right, so that is pretty much it. Do you anybody have any questions regarding any of the things that I discussed? I know it's a lot, it's a shock factor, but it is something again that I'm very passionate about trying to educate. I've been in it too many years, and I've seen a lot of employees come in my office crying. They want to retire because of their health, but when I run the numbers financially, they can't afford to retire. So what they know that they end up working, and they end up passing away on the job. Or if they retire soon after they retire, they pass away. I see that all the time. I used to dread this time of year because between November and February, that's when the most deaths used to occur. I had one of my retirees didn't even draw one check before they passed away. You don't want to be in that way. You don't want to be working and working where you forced out because of your health. Then you can't enjoy. So you don't work all these years, what, for somebody else to enjoy it? So plan, do your due diligence. So you can be able to plan to enjoy. I'm traveling, seeing this world, doing different things, what I want to do. Because now what? I'm in the driver's seat. I'm controlled because what? I made those sacrifices. I made those sacrifices because I saw, and the reason why, again, seeing what my mom went through, what my parents, that was my motivating force. Because I said, I refuse to live my life that way. So I wanted to be able to offer something better, show something different to my sons to plan. So you got to make the sacrifice. I used to tell them, either you're going to make the sacrifices now or you're going to make the sacrifices later. But again, the choice is yours. It's up to you. Because you got to see what is most important to you. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let me get this so we can have.
Well, I used to work at a cemetery in pre-need, and then talking to a mortuary owner, and they just say that they are so busy this time of the year, like you were saying. So you think the contributing factor, and with a lot of deaths, it has to do with lifestyle expenses? Because I wondered about that.
Yes, stress. The biggest one is stress. People don't, stress is a killer by itself. Because what stress does, only does it thing that is bring down any health conditions that are going on in your body, it brings it to a head, to the top. Because if you're stressed, worrying about your income all the time, you working, you ain't eating right, you ain't sleeping right, all of that. So again, you and once you do that for so long, something gonna start being that fact about it. Even with all this stuff we're going on with federal employees. I had one of the ladies heard up in DC. She went to work and dropped dead right there at her desk because of the situation with the job security not go, because this was not planned. It's put in a situation she wasn't planned for and wasn't ready for, but so stressed out, worrying about it, she dropped dead right there at her desk. I've seen it on my one of my other jobs when I was working at Home Depot at the corporate office. Guy walked through the gate at work, dropped dead right there. I never seen a place where people suffer with anxiety and stress and stuff so bad. I had to look up, like I said, people look like they fine. A lot of people are not fine. We got masks on all the time, like everything is fine and hork and door, but it's not. It's not. Where you going? Hold up.
Statistics on the number of federal employees who committed suicide. They're not really tracking that, but it was a very stressful time for people. And if you know anything about the DC area, it is, there's people with good government jobs there and they depend on that. And women are very independent. Many of them have families but are not married, and that's been okay because they've been able to manage it. But this really um, drove home the fact that it's better if you have two incomes and stick together and not try to do it all by yourself. And you cannot count on the federal government.
Exactly. Because I had one lady, I heard about another lady too in this situation was going on. She went to work because this whole situation has been very bad and very stressful. And how they did it, it was just like, we understand you're going to have reductions in force, but it's a way to do anything. And how they went about it, you ain't never experienced anything like this before. And so a lot of people can't handle the stress, and they be so cutthroat with some of the stuff how they've done it. And there's one lady, she went out, they went to go on work, and then she scanned a badge and it didn't work, and they put up saying you fired, and she went out in the parking deck and committed suicide. So that's why I said it's stressful situation.
Since the beginning of the program, I learned a lot because, like you're saying, we never thought to ask questions about stuff like this. Like today I learned the most from since the beginning because, like you're asking me how much it is the contribution. I don't even know. And people, and when you go before you sign some stuff, you don't even know what you're signing, and you don't know what question to ask to know things to make change. like we were saying earlier, so we need to get out of the debt and stuff like this. And question I want to ask, because you were saying people, I heard you giving some example, people keep taking withdraw money from the 401k and stuff like this. But if someone wanna get out of the debt, and the only way they can come out of it is like withdraw money and pay some, get, so it's a no. Well, okay, all right, don't do that. With
Do not take money out of your 401k to pay it. Do not do that. Get an extra job, do anything, cut back, again, your budget, cut back on your expenses, do it another way, but do not take it out of your 401k because you're going to need it when you retire. Do not do that. Hmm. Yes. And don't feel ashamed about it. Believe me, you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there. A lot of people the same way. But ask, those your benefits. And don't feel like any question is a stupid question. Because I encountered that when I being the first black benefit specialist at one of my federal agencies. And, a lot of them before I came in, they had never had one there. So they would hide the truth when tell them the truth of what's going on. They didn't feel comfortable really being their true self with them. But when I came, they was able to open up. Because again, when you're doing retirement consulting, I can't help you if you're not honest with me. Because anything you tell me is confidential. It's confidential. So I need, in order to me to really accurately help you, I need for you to be honest with me. So again, ask those questions. Those are your. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yes, and so that's why I do these. That's why I do this. So anybody that's willing to listen and open with this information, I'm willing to share it. Willing to share it. Willing to share it. Yes. 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 So the question is like, would I be willing to share my information? Yes, there it is up there. That's my contact information, my email address, and my phone number for my. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Got my screen up there. Yeah. So that's my contact information, and willing, to set up because again, I want to help you all. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because, like I said, the first thing I always come back in the Bible and say, our people perish what? Because of lack of knowledge. And so that's what it's all about. That's why I am so thankful and appreciative of Creation Life for this program, how it has just changed my life. And I'm sure it has made a difference in a lot of people's lives. This type of program with some other people be making thousands of dollars doing this program. So do not take this for granted. So that's why I always sow a seed back into Creation Life because I want them to be able to continue this program. Because, like I said, this is the best kept secret in Jackson. So many people need this. Need this. So we need to be able to share this, what you have learned, share it with somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. So what gives you attainment all this and knowledge and then you don't share with anybody else? So that's why God blessed me with this gift and this talent. So yes, I'm sharing it to share it to anybody else who want to learn. Because I've seen it. I've seen too many of us. Y'all don't know it by me being in this position, doing it for several years. It breaks my heart to see our people not prepared. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I went to school, I was doing really good in school, but financial literacy, I wasn't taught it until I ran into Dave Ramsey. And so
Because the thing about a lot of time we'll grow up. Your parents did, you just mimic what you saw your parents did. We don't have that conversation around the table, but me and my sons, we did. We had fun because I said I saw it too much. And I said before, if last thing else I do on this earth before I leave, they're gonna be financially literate. So I would have financial meetings with them. They had checking accounts and stuff ever since they were 13. And I would make them get them bank statements, and we would have sit down at the table and go over those bank statements. Because a lot of we know how to make the money. Making it is not the problem. But we don't know how to manage it, so that's why we don't keep it. So a lot of people would pencil whip us because we don't know. Why you see so many athletes make all that money and then they end up being broke? Because they make the money, what? But they depend on somebody else, what? To manage it for them, and then they pencil whip them. So knowing your finances and know how to manage your expenses is so important and so crucial. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, she said another question, another place where they get us is on the interest rate. So you can call your credit card up and ask them, hey, can you lower this rate? Because most of the time it's 29% or higher on these credit cards, which is totally ridiculous. So I use them, but I don't carry over a balance, not one time. So they don't make no money on me. So they don't like me because they don't make money off of me because I use it. And but when that bill come, I pay it in full. I don't believe in carry over no balance. I use it, but pay it in full. I just use it to earn and accrue my award points and sky miles. That's the only reason I use it. That's the only, but I pay it in full. I do not carry over a balance at all because the rates are totally ridiculous, 29 and 30%. And then if you're doing this, you now, even if you're just doing a minimum payment, you're being slave to that credit card. You are never pay it off paying the minimum balance. Never. And they love you, yeah, because they making money off of you. 29 to 30%. Especially you, look, you be on, just think about this. Sometimes you be on charge $25, $100, $200. And then they charge you 20, you don't pay it off in full. They charge you 28, 29, 30% on $200. Does that make sense? These are the things you got to think about. And have financial meetings with your family. Think about it. Have your situation. Another thing that irritates me more than anything is these GoFundMe's. So if you did your due diligence and plan, you won't have to do GoFundMe's. Have your place, your stuff in order. So you won't have to deal with that. Your family already dealing with the other stuff already. Last thing you want to deal with the financial part. Have your things, your places in order. I consider like do life insurance, like food on the table. You want to have that in place so you don't have that burden on your family trying to figure it out. To do all of that. Plan, but it's called what? Planning. Having things in place to plan for those things. Like my son, which here, I love him. My youngest son, that's my mini-me. That's my mini-me, Andre. Yeah, that's my mini-me. And he just told me something about a problem. He said, it's 4 parts to a problem. He said, the first part, you got to look at your current state. The second part is you got to look at your desired state. Then you got to look at what are the obstacles that are in place that are preventing you from getting to that desired state. Then you got to look at what uncertainties they're going to come in place. So say your current state, you're in a lot of debt, right? Your desired state, what is to get out of debt. So what are your obstacles that are preventing you from getting out of debt? Is it what? You spending too much money? You're not making enough income? So what do you need to do? Do you need to get another job? And if you need to get another job, the uncertainty is what? When? Maybe you need to get another job, make more money. When? Uncertainty is what? You need to cut your expenses. Then you got to say what? When you're going to start doing that. So those are the things you got to look at when you look at a problem. Your current state, your desired state. What are the obstacles preventing you from getting for that desired state? and what are uncertainties that you hadn't planned for. And that you can do that with any type of problem. Any type of problem. So, yes, yes. So when any type of problem you look at, that's what you got to keep in mind. Current, desired, what obstacles, and what uncertainties. And once you do that, you can figure out any problem. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. And that's why I give God all the glory. It ain't me, y'all. Okay, that's him with a problem. With Andre, okay, the 4 parts to a problem. Okay. He got it from somebody else because he's always studying, he's always reading and stuff all the time. You know, so when he did that, I said, I gotta share that. I told myself I gotta share that because it's important. It looks something simple, right? But it's a good way to what? Think about it. So 4 parts to a problem. One is you got to look at what your current state, your desired state. Then you got to look at what are obstacles that are preventing you from getting to that desired state. And then you got to plan for what uncertainties that may prevent you from getting to that desired state. Those are the 4 parts. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, great. Okay. All right. Well, let's bow our heads. Lord, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for all of our participants that stay. I know it's been a very long day. Thank you, Lord, for having open hearts and ears to be able to want to hear what I was trying to share to them, Lord. I want to make sure you get all the glory, Lord. And I thank you for using me as that vessel to be able to share a positive, encouraging word to these recipients today, Lord. And my prayer for them is to ask them all what they have heard today, heard throughout this whole process, is to apply the knowledge and the tools that they have learned. That's when I'll feel blessed and a blessing, because the Lord, you said you know the fruit by the tree it bears. And I can see you making changes and making difference in your life, Lord. Then you will get the glory and continue to use me as a vessel to continue to share the word with others. And my desire for you, for what you learned, to continue to share for others, Lord. And as we leave this place and go about our various destinations, Lord, we want you to be there. Have your angels encamped all around us, Lord, protecting us, Lord, to make sure that we make it home without any harm or danger coming our way, Lord, and to make sure we don't bring any harm or danger to anyone else, Lord. And these are the blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Christ's sake, amen, and thank God.